Hello and welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. My name is Emma and today I'm going to be doing a book tag. This is the best books you've never heard of tag. This was a tag created by Danica Lee Ellis. I saw this on her channel and just decided to do it because I liked it. It's about kind of discovering slightly more obscure books. So I've got my laptop here on my lap because I need to look at Goodreads for this, because the first question is, are there many books you've read that are below 250 ratings, and then below 100 and any under 25? So let us go have a look. I don't really know before I've looked at this which ones are going to be the most obscure books, because I think the thing about BookTube and that I really like is a lot of the books I read because they're recommended to me, because I saw it on BookTube, because I saw it on Book Twitter, because people are talking about it, and so those ones aren't likely to be obscure. So my guess, before actually looking at the Goodreads, is the ones that are going to have the lowest ratings are going to be ones I read longer ago. Like in my childhood, when I was more likely to actually just go and browse a bookshelf in a shop, in a library, and just pick up random things that caught my attention. Whereas these days I feel like, and I like it, it's a positive thing, but I feel like I'm so inundated and so overwhelmed by like knowing about all the big books, the ones that are coming out, the ones people are buzzing about, that I read those. So yeah, my guess is that I won't have read anything obscure recently, but that my childhood books might have been really random, who really knows. So sort by, what do I want to sort by? Number of ratings. It's going to do most popular first, so my guess is it's going to be Harry Potter. Yeah, my most popular book that I've read is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which has been rated on Goodreads 6.4 million times. Down at the other end of the scale, my least rated one actually has 0 ratings, and that is a short story collection by Poetic Republic. So I actually once entered a short story competition and my short story got published in this anthology by Poetic Republic, which sadly nobody has rated on Goodreads. Go and rate it. It was called Kissing Him Goodbye. I wrote a story in it called Still Waiting or something, and it was a very melodramatic story. I reread it recently and was like, Emma, making something super sad doesn't mean making it good. But anyway, it's in there. I'll link it below. Go read it. What was the actual question here? I'm counting. Are there many books you've read that are below 250 ratings? Okay, let's count. 54. I have read 54 books that have under 250 ratings on Goodreads. That's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. In terms of the ones that are below 100 ratings, 23 of those have under 100 ratings, and the ones that have under 25 ratings, there's not that many of those. Just 5. I've read 5 books under 25 ratings, and those are Kissing Him Goodbye, the story collection, We Are Feminist, which is actually a really cool book. That was an infographic history of the history of feminism. It was really colourful. I really liked that one. Marina Baker's Teenage Survival Guide. Yep, as I guessed, something I read as a child. Don't even remember what that is. Interface. This was a book I was actually sent by the author. I can't remember much about it. It was a sort of like dystopian world, I think. I gave it 3 stars anyway. And The Sherwood Hero by Alison Prince. I do remember this one. Again, yes, that's one I read as a teenager. It's about a girl who gets obsessed with Robin Hood, I think, and tries to, so she thinks she should also like steal from the rich and give to the poor, and she comes up with this whole scheme to do that. Anyway, so yeah, my prediction was pretty correct there. So question number 2 is, how did you hear about the most obscure books you read? So looking at those, if we go with those like absolute most obscure, there was a short story one, that was because I entered the competition. We Are Feminist, I was sent by the publisher. Marina Baker's Teenage Survival Guide, I have no idea, probably when I just like picked up at the library. Interface, as I said, was sent by an author, and The Sherwood Hero, again as a child. I don't know, I don't remember the specific stories behind them, but I would have just been like randomly browsing and found them. Or it might have been something that my mum bought me for my birthday or Christmas. She was always very good at kind of just, again, just browsing the shelves and picking up random books that she thought looked interesting to me. So there's not really a pattern there to how I found them, but none of them came from just like a recommendation from a friend, someone telling me about this obscure book. Not one of those like bottom 5 anyway. Question number 3 is, what are some of your favourite unknown books? And unknown, Danica counts as anything under 250 ratings. And why should more people read them? So I'm just gonna like pause, wait right there, and I'm gonna look through all of those, how many was it? 50 something books that have under 250 ratings, and pick out some of my favourites to talk about. Oh, on this list is To Die For. I don't remember if this is good or not, but this is a book I read as a child about a girl who is like obsessed with a celebrity, and she goes on these chat rooms, and this was like the early days of the internet. She goes on these chat rooms to like read about this celebrity, but it becomes this kind of obsessive place. These people like trying to track down the celebrity and find his address and stuff, like quite modern stuff. And I remember really enjoying that as a kid. I don't know if people should read it now. I don't know if it's good, but teenage me loved it. Buying a Bride by Marsha A. Zug. So this was one I believe I was sent by the author. I can't quite remember how I got this one. It's a non-fiction book that I thought was absolutely fascinating. It's about the history of mail order brides. So it goes all the way back to this form of mail order brides that were sent over basically to the Jamestown colony, so the first English settlement in the Americas. And in that case, these women actually, it was this really empowering thing, and these women had the power in that transaction. I can't remember now exactly the details, but it talked all about how this was this like good economic transaction for them, and how they had a much more kind of feminist version of marriage than later generations did. It was really, really interesting. So yeah, I really recommend people reading that one. Don't Ask Me Why is on here, Tonya Kindersley. I didn't realise that was so obscure. Only 93 ratings. I absolutely love this book. This was one of my favourites when I was a teenager. It's not a young adult book at all. It was one that my mum gave me because she loved it. It's split into two halves. So the first half is these uni friends at Oxford, and it's set in the 80s, but they kind of go around acting like it's the 20s, and they're these like wonderfully pretentious group of friends basically, and then the main two girls are called Verge and Ash. And me and my best friend used to call each other Verge and Ash because we both loved this book so much. And then the second half is after they leave uni, and it's them kind of slowly becoming disillusioned with the world. It's really sad, it's really moving. I absolutely love it. I didn't know that one was so obscure. There's a book on here called Doll by Nikki Singer, which I don't remember the story at all, but I remember being obsessed with it. Now I'm gonna have to reread it. And the synopsis does not ring a bell. Tilly's biker mother gave her a doll on her deathbed, but there is something strange about it, something dangerous. It brings Tilly into the path of Jan, a South American boy with his own problems, but there are questions that have not been answered. Is Tilly's mother really dead? I don't know if that's good again, but teenage me thought it was wonderful. The Adventures of Maud West, Lady Detective, that was in my best books of 2019. I will link to that video. I absolutely loved that. It's non-fiction, all about this detective, lady detective called Maud West, who lived in London, and it's just this really fun book that's kind of, it's about her life, but it also feels like this mystery when you watch the author try and uncover the facts about her life, because she's this really interesting and mysterious woman who did all these incredible things, but also wrote fictional stories about her adventures that was so exaggerated they can't have been true. So it's trying to kind of filter out which bits really happened. It was so much fun. I absolutely loved that one. So there you go. Those are a few of the ones from that list that I really enjoyed. The majority of that list are either books I read as a teenager that were obscure, or books I've read that haven't come out yet, so they probably will go on to have much higher ratings. The final question is just any other thoughts. And I guess, yeah, I will just finish on saying that that does make me want to read a little bit more obscurely sometimes, be a bit more adventurous, but actually I don't really mind that, because I absolutely love BookTube and I love being part of this bookish community, and that is all about us sharing books. So I think I do prefer reading more popular books than really obscure books, because then you get to share in it with people, and reading is a very solitary activity in itself. You can only ever be the only person reading that book, and so reading books that you can then discuss with other people is a really wonderful way to make reading less of a solitary activity. So yeah, I don't mind at all that that's kind of highlighted that my reading is not very obscure. I do follow the buzzy books because that's where the conversations are happening, and I think that that's fine. But it does make me think, as a child, I loved some of those books, and those were ones that I just found. So maybe what I should do is spend a bit more time sometimes, and it'd be such a treat to do anyway, go to the library or go to Waterstones and walk around and pick up books that I haven't heard mentioned. Because usually now, even when I go to Waterstones, I do sometimes pick up random things, but usually I pick up names I've heard mentioned or authors I've heard mentioned, and maybe I should just give myself a few hours to fully just browse the shelves, pick up random books that I haven't heard anyone talk about, and see if I can discover some new hidden gems. I think that would be fun. So I'd love to know what your guys' answers were. Do you read more or less obscure books than I do? I'd love to know, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button below for new videos twice every week. See you next time.